call is now being recorded.
Daryl.
Hey.
Hey, Daryl, this is Andrew. How are you doing?
All right, man. How you doing there?
I'm doing well. Hey, I appreciate your flexibility today. I'm sorry you had to push our call back.
Oh, that's all right. Not a problem at all.
Yeah. Well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Actually, working at my mom's house right now, building a deck. Actually, just wound it up, so for at least this phase of it. So.
Oh, cool. Well,
Yeah.
is that in Atlanta?
No, Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay, in Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah. I'd read that you grew up in Atlanta, so I didn't know if your mom still lived there.
Oh no, haven't lived there since 1983. Actually moved to Florida January the 3rd, 1983. We're back here. Whole family's from here, so. But no, don't have no. Had a couple sisters that stayed up there for a few years, but they moved just back to Jacksonville too, back in the 80s. So everybody's here.
Yeah, it's nice to have family around.
Oh yeah, I live about a half hour west of Jacksonville, kind of out in the sticks.
In the swamp, right?
Kind of a pine forest. The swamp, the Okefenokee Swamp's about a half hour north of where I live. But yeah, it's pretty much, the whole area is pretty much all kind of swampy, parts. So some parts of it are pine forest, timberland, and get down toward Gainesville, which is about 45 miles or so south of where I'm at. It starts to get kind of low down there and hilly. So, and then to the north of the swamp, to the pretty much all around. Yeah, there's some kind of water. So, you get to the southwest of where I'm at, and there's springs down there. To the east is the Atlantic Ocean, about 50 miles. And St. John's River runs through Jacksonville, so there's water everywhere.
How about wild boars?
Wild boars?
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I was just down just south of Gainesville last Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember. A place called Payne's Ferry. There's seen some wild boar out there, like about a dozen of them. So they're around. It seems like you're seeing more nowadays than you have in the past. You see a lot more animals around here nowadays because it's being built up so much. You're kind of running out of places to go. So still a lot of woods, forests around here, but there's also a lot of construction going on and stuff. So you see still a lot more deer and wild turkey and wild boar and different things out and about now than you used to.
Yeah, I've heard, I don't know if it's a life's tale or just a myth, but I've heard that some of those wild boar can grow to be quite large in the swamp around there.
Yeah, I haven't really seen any huge, like you're probably what you're talking about, but I've heard they're around. I know I've seen this some kind of program on TV a few years ago. I was out in Texas, and they were talking about these wild boar they had out there. They're just like huge, I forget how big they said they were, but certainly bigger than the 400 pounds, like massively bigger than that. So I'm not sure what the world record for a boar is. But,
so yeah. Speaking of boars and animals, the just like as an icebreaking question, I wanted to ask you what your spirit animal is.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have one of them animal spirit guidebooks, but it's a lot of the ones where if an animal comes into your dream or whatever, you can look it up. But
Right.
I've done that a little bit, but it seems like they all kind of say, approximately the same, some version of the same kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Various degrees of it. But it's still interesting to, kind of read, like what did I have that pop up in my life recently, or in a dream recently? I think a seagull, which is unusual. And I looked it up and I forget what it said, but it was like, it kind of does parallel what I'm, doing right now. So I guess it's kind of like the, the astrology and what do you call it, your sign, your zodiac sign or whatever. I guess.
What is your zodiac sign?
Oh, Sagittarius.
Okay, you're Sagittarius.
Like November. Yeah. So, yeah, I used to not really believe in any of that crap, until, kind of start reading. I didn't really read into a lot, but, just like over the years, pick up little things from here and there, different people. And it's like, well, maybe there's something to that stuff, I mean, hell, the moon and, affects people certainly. And,
right.
weather affects people, and why not? Who knows?
Yeah. I'm somewhat a believer in that. I figured based on your music and based on some of the comments you've already made about nature that stuff might be of interest, at least somewhat.
Yeah.
So that I'd ask. You mentioned the seagull is like very much representative of what you're up to now. What would you say you're up to?
I can't even remember what it was, but I just remember reading it and it's like, okay, that kind of sounds, a little bit like, it's always like kind of going through this phase or that phase, or, to, meditate more in nature. A lot of them do. I've had let's see, what are some, there's a seagull that popped up, things like stuff like alligators and snakes are in there a lot. I don't know if there's any. I mean, there's a lot of snakes in my yard, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but they seem like they've read they're a lot less positive, things. It's a good thing, like snakes and alligators, stuff like that, show up in your dreams, or, it seemed like that. It seemed like in that book, it's like most all of it's all kind of good, like positive stuff that they show up in your dreams, or whatever. Or if an animal shows up just out of the blue, it's unusual, not meaning something, but who knows? I don't really look that much into it. I just kind of, give it a glance or whatever. That's about it, just out of curiosity.
So how about if you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, I have no idea. Like,
okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know. I guess teleporting would be nice.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. That would be it. Then you can just load up your gear and teleport yourself to the gig, or wherever you want to go. But not to avoid travel altogether, but because I do like riding down the road and looking at stuff, seeing the land and stuff like that. But sometimes it's like, man, I wish I could just teleport, from here, point A to point B. I guess that would be it. Teleporting seems cool.
Yeah. So, did you always see yourself as a musician, or was there a point growing up when you thought that, or when you realized that that's what you were going to do?
Yeah. There was a point. I forget how old I was, but I mean, I always was sort of into music, just listening to it, because I had, you know, two older sisters that had a collection of 45s, and my parents had LPs and stuff like that. So I kind of just, you know, get exposed to it through them. Yeah. Really had no cognitive, you know, that's what I want to do or anything. But then when I was like 11 years old, like 11 or 12, I had a friend that had a drum set,
Right.
and something clicked when I went over to his house, and he used to play his drums, and I sat down behind it one time, you know, kind of kicked a little beat, or the best I could at 11, and something snapped, and from that moment, it was like I was just drum, you know, wanted to get a drum set and get into drums, and so I did that a little bit, and then when I was 17, you know, got a guitar, and then started playing with friends. We had a band like right after high school. This is like 31 years ago now, and just went from there. Started playing, you know, guitar, and bass was always around. So I played bass, guitar. We'd switch instruments, and then I finally picked up, you know, songwriting and singing lines in my mid to late 20s, and then when I got closer to, you know, mid 30s into 40, you know, it's time to start doing something with it, you know.
Right.
Other than the one I was already involved in. So, but yeah, I would say I knew pretty much early on that I wanted to do music. Of course, back then I was 14, you know, 11, 12, 13, 14 or whatever. Like, I want to be a rock star, you know, because that's the only thing I had a reference to. You know,
right.
Music. They're on TV, you know, playing music. I dig the music, so that's the only, you know, point of reference. And then, you know, you start feeling
like Dire Straits, right?
Yeah.
Money for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So then over the years, you just keep feeling about the layers, and, you know, more, you know, keep discovering more and more things, you know. So it's a process, I guess, you know. Something I always knew you know, from like an early age, and I wanted to, but as far as the capacity, in which capacity that would be, whether, you know, playing, I always thought I'd be a drummer, and then after that, I always thought I'd be a guitar player. And I had no idea I could, you know, sing and write songs, you know, because it gets self-discovery or whatever. You know.
It's really cool. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say it. I've been always been lucky too to be around people who could do stuff. You know, I just always ended up around people who could already sing and write songs, you know, play instruments. So, you know, for whatever reason, I always ended up around people that could already do it. You know.
Right. It's really cool to hear that you started with the drums, because your music's so rhythmic based. You know, it makes a lot of sense to hear that that's where you started.
Yeah, I definitely that was my first infatuation with it. The whole thing is the beat, the groove. You know, I don't know. I guess I listened to I used to do a lot of air drumming to the, you know, like the Police, like listening to Stuart Copeland on those early Police albums, especially like Ghost in the Machine. That was the first record when I was, I guess I was 12 or 13. My sister had the 8-track, and I heard it, and I nicked it from her, and I pretty much wore it out. And but then after that I got into all, you know, sorts of other music, you know, from rap to Van Halen, the early Van Halen, the good stuff. And then from there, like Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, and Rolling Stones. And then after high school, you know, I started actually a few years after high school, I discovered or happened across blues and started getting into that, you know, which always felt really natural, you know.
Right.
And got totally into blues, and discovered like Curtis Mayfield and Sly and the Family Stone. I was like, what the hell is all this stuff? I mean, this is great. And then So it's in the past years, I kind of come back around full circle and started kind of went back and started listening to some of the stuff like the old Led Zeppelin albums again, and the early Van Halen albums again, and just kind of coming back through it, and and just take on this album here and say, ooh, what was I thinking? I like that. So some stuff sticks, some stuff doesn't. So yeah, I guess it's a journey. The whole thing is,
Who would you say is your least obvious musical influence?
At least obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have no idea. Yeah, and I say that because I have certainly had stuff I like a lot. But, I just got such a large, there's so much music out there, and I like so many different things from classical to blues, funk, soul music, rock and roll, jazz. I've got more into old school jazz. More recently. Well, I guess that could be like a less obvious influence. Is like the stuff like the Miles Davis stuff and Les McCann and what's some other ones? There's this his name Antonio. I know it's spelled Jobim, Jobim, or something like that. I can't remember his name, Antonio Carlos Jobim or something like that. He's like I can't remember his trying. I feel like it's either South America or something. But he has this album I've had on spin for a while. It's real super like mellow, like kind of. It almost sounds like elevator music, but it's almost psychedelic too. It's weird, And then just a lot of stuff I like. I just go through different phases. I just usually put on the iTunes and put it on scramble and just whatever comes up.
Yeah, the Miles Davis, that makes a lot of sense to me. It seems like there's a lot of space in your music, and even some of your playing's real slow. And I know Miles Davis, is all about creating space. The space was part of the melody.
Yeah, and I've definitely gravitated to music like that always. That stuff that's more spacey like that, atmospheric music, and anything that's not really vibey, has a lot of space to it. I've always liked, on the top, underneath, the rhythm part of it's a big thing too. So I'm not like total ambient, but it's kind of somewhere in between, Definitely like
yeah.
I know. I just said definitely like the senses, but like the reverbs and delays and making it sound like it's alive. Has some space to it. So.
Yeah, I definitely hear that and notice that on your latest record, Wild Blue Iris. It seems like, at least compared to even the previous ones, it's a very spacious and there's a sonic sense of space to it.
Yeah, definitely. It's thinking with that album, I just listened to it. Kind of went back and listened to the first three records, the past few weeks or so, and when I got to that one, I haven't listened to it in a while, and I was kind of surprised. Like, that's it seems like it's a little bit more cohesive, as an album than the other two.
Yeah.
To me it is anyway. But but yeah, there's definitely like I got a better handle on it. So I think a lot of that comes through. The first one's a little bit more of a. It didn't kind of turn out. It was like I liked it to. Would have liked it to. I really didn't know what I was, I didn't have a full grasp on what I was doing, and just lack of experience, but it come out good enough. It's supposed to be a little bit more like the latter two albums and its sonic quality and rhythmically. Some of the tracks, I almost like want to go back and record some of the tracks again off the first album someday. But
oh wow.
then so the second album is it was mixed digitally, like out of the box, not run through a what do you call it, mixing console or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, which it sounds fine, but I think that run through back to the audio to warm it up adds a little bit more vibe to it.
Right.
And so that's what the third one had. The Wild Blue Hours record is mixed to a Neve. So that's why it sounds. I think that's why it sounds a little bit more warm and fuzzy and a little bit more vibey and cohesive.
Did you record them? Yeah. Did you record them all at the same studio?
Yeah, the first one I did, and the first one I recorded that down at Retrophonics and St. Augustine, same place where all the Mofo records have been recorded. And then the latter two I recorded at JJ's house, at his studio.
Oh, cool.
And pretty much record them in all the same way. Some on the second one, some of the guitar on there is a little bit brittle and shrill, whereas the third one's a little bit, on the Blue Hour sound, a little bit more fuzzy, a little bit warmer, because it was mixed, to a console, as opposed to straight out of the box. I mean, it's mixed straight out of the box. The second one was mixed straight out of the box, but through some good analog stuff, but it wasn't, going through a good mixing console and all that, still mixed down to tape. But, and then the new one, if I ever get it done, it's basically the same way, same process. Just
and you record all the instruments, right?
Most all of them. Reed played on a couple of tracks on the last record, on the Blue Hours record. And then
Reed did?
Yeah. He played
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, on the Always Be Around, and the instrumental Wild Blue Hours, he played the slide on those two. I sent him some stuff, seen the tracks, and he laid some slide on there. So
nice.
But yeah, most the first album was a band. I played the guitar on the first album. Anthony Cole played the drums, and the guy here in Jacksonville, Shane Platten, played the bass, and then I played everything else. And then the second one, I played everything on there except I got JJ to overdub this organ on one of the songs, little organ background noise on. I mean, he needs some backup on a couple, and played the drums on the second half of the song, kind of beef it up. And on the Blue Hours album, Cameron played on about half of it. Then I played on the other half. We doubled up the drums on some of them. And then I played all the other instruments, and then I got Reed to overlay, a couple of slide guitars, a couple songs. And then the latest one, I'm back to doing everything except I got a current drummer, B. Gale. She played drums on all the tracks. And then
oh, nice.
But actually, I went through and recorded the drums, to most of them, just kind of give her the idea, and she come back and played on them, and just it's like I didn't want to use my drums at all after listening to her. She's great, and like super fun. She's actually the perfect fit, for a drummer for for what I'm doing anyway. Super fun,
Yeah.
super natural pop. I can't wait for the record to come out, but it's, I'm kind of dead in the water right now. The Pro Tools rig died at the studio, so I've been trying to get that taken care of. So hopefully I'll be back at it soon. And then,
you have the stems, right? It's not like it's lost.
What's that?
You have the stems to what you've been working on, right? It's not
it's
lost. Okay.
Oh no, it's not lost.
Did you lose your recording?
Yeah. No. It's just I haven't been able to record since August, but so I'm fixing to get back to it, fixing to get that fixed up. I've just been doing working on home projects and actually demoing the next album. So I've like got album number 4 almost done. I got a couple weeks work left on it, just gonna have like not strings, but like a mellotron kind of strings or approximation of a mellotron.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And some stuff like that. And I got probably a couple more weeks to work on it or so once I get back to it. And then the next album, album number 5, I'm demoing it right now. As soon as I get number 4 ready to mix, I'm going to start recording this next one. Ideally, what I would like to do is release the 2 records like in close succession, just a few months apart. Try and get like a double whammy. We'll see how that works out there. So, yeah, the ideas always come easy. It's just like implementing them. I want to record 2 albums, and like 2 years later, you're like, God, what the hell was I thinking?
Right.
So,
do you have any rituals, like recording rituals?
not really. Just fire the Pro Tools. Usually just usually guitar and the vocal with a metronome. I'll get the guitar down and get me a good rhythm track down. But, usually I'll cut. I guess you call it a ritual. I'll cut 3 tracks, 3 takes of the same song real quick. Or try to get 3 where I make it all the way through and it's good. That might take 6 or 8 tries, but usually cycle around when I get 3 good ones. I'll take a little break, then come back in and pick, which one feels the best, and then I'll work on that take. And so I have probably the first thing I'll do after that, I usually double up the guitar, and then either then re-sing it for real, because usually I'm concentrating on just trying to get the guitar and the arrangement down. And then, excuse me. Then easy after that, I'll try to get some drums on it, and then hit the bass and then keys or whatever else it needs on it. And then some of the songs in this last record, I used the Rhythm Ace drum machine, and and then kind of did that. And instead of messing with a metronome, I just used that. And then I had B to come in and play over it, and she was great at like just locking into whatever. So, which Cameron was really good at that too, locking into a metronome. He was really good at that.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the ritual there, if there is one. And then usually when I get about a good chunk of the record, I used to have a pretty good idea of the songs, that might vary by 2 or 3 songs, changing one out, or might come up with another one, during the session. But if you can call them sessions, and then I usually get the album, kind of a rough draft of it, and I'll kind of have a little listening party and by myself with headphones and a few beers, maybe a little bit of weed or something, to kind of just to get a different perspective,
Right.
and kind of start pulling it together.
Some distance.
Yeah, kind of so you can get in a different headspace, Which is just like, this last record here, this one I'm currently working on, is almost done. I was actually kind of glad that I haven't been able to work on it for, a few months, because I kind of got lost in it a little bit. It's it's pretty dark. A lot of it's like really dark material. I had this, I had this back catalog of, if I never wrote another song, I got about 7 or 8 more albums worth of stuff. So I wanted to do 2 albums, one to showcase like the darker material, sort of, and one that's like not quite a party record, but it's way more, upbeat and, fun, kind of like polar opposites, So I got, doing the darker record, I got a little lost in there for a second, but having that break, kind of get away from it and just that, not be able to work on it kind of helped. Then I go back and listen to it. Well, it sounds fine. You know how it is. You kind of get lost in recording. Sometimes you don't know which way is up.
Yeah. So what percentage of your songs would you say are autobiographical, or like based on your own experience?
Probably all of them, to a degree. Some of them are kind of similar subject, like just trying to find your way.
Right.
But all of them are like that, or at least all the ones that have been on the record so far. I'm kind of getting out into some other areas, like more into social commentary kind of things with which I've had those kind of songs for years, but I haven't really kind of put them out there too much, because it's kind of like you meet somebody new and they start making social commentary right offhand, kind of throw you off. So it's kind of like kind of look at it the same way. Like first it was like, hey, how you doing? My name's Daryl. Kind of thing, and just start talking, putting, more, I guess it's still for social commentary. It's not, I guess it can be political, but I guess it depends on the way you look at it. But to me, it would be more social commentary, because to me, political has like an agenda, behind it or something.
So this last, Wild Blue Iris, it was pretty upbeat. I'm curious where that energy was coming from. If you were having certain experiences. There's definitely a spiritual orientation to it, and it reminds me of basically I'm wanting to ask you about this connection between blues and spirituality, because I think in a way you really connected those two on that album. I'm curious where all that was coming from.
I have no idea really. Just it's other than this, the way I feel, I just, usually a riff will come first, walking around the guitar, and a riff will come, and then I'll start kind of singing to it, humming along to it or whatever, and next thing I know, it just kind of falls out of thin air, and certainly I'm guiding it, in some way, lyrically and stuff like that, but a lot of stuff just kind of it just seems like it just kind of comes out of thin air. So I don't know really. I mean, I guess that's where and I'm, music is heavily blues influenced, blues grooves, just like all 70s rock, like Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, or any other number of bands back then. It's just, from the Rolling Stones or whoever, it's all blues guitar grooves, So, blues with a funky backbeat to it. So that's where that comes in. The spirituality part comes, I guess, just because I feel it heavily or whatever. I'm definitely not or haven't been like a pop song writer, because I really don't like pop music. I like, or not dark music, just real music, like the Stones or the Beatles or, Led Zeppelin or Leonard Skinner or, the blues artist Muddy Waters or, just stuff that's kind of real sign of family song. It comes from music that comes from life experiences and, it's not, that's the one thing I always, to me it stands out about the bands and the music that was made from from, let's say, the mid 60s to the mid 70s, where people are just, just spilling their guts and just, they're not trying to get hits necessarily,
Right.
They're not like, because to me, like the whole music machine just kind of, it's just gotten ridiculous over the, as I guess the music industry evolved or whatever, from, okay, we need another hit, need another hit, to where the marketing department starts taking over the, the artistic aspect. It's just like any other corporation, it's like when it starts out as great, like Apple starts out as great, or any other, entity that starts out that has something that's great, people want, and then as they start selling, they want to repeat that success, or we want the next hit album. So that's when the marketing department starts taking over and guiding the ship. And that's why it always runs into the rocks, because like, once you start the creative, certainly you got to, to keep the ship going, you've got to have, some kind of, steering mechanism, and if the steering mechanism is leaning too much toward the, the artistic side or the party side, with the band's part, it can run into the rocks that way. Or if you get the marketing people, that just are trying to steer it toward money, that can throw it into the rocks, the same way,
Right.
So I guess there's a balance you got to find there. So, and I've been fortunate enough to have not been, hugely successful. So, or unfortunate enough, I don't know. It's like, certainly want something to be successful, but, at the same time, I've had just a little taste of success, being in a band that was moderately successful, and, shit can definitely change, and get weird real quick. So, for the good or the ungood, I guess.
Right.
I don't even know if I'm making sense anymore. I'm just
You are. I'm curious. I'm really curious about like the spiritual aspect, because when I heard the third record, that was really speaking to me. And for one, I'm curious whether you think some of these bands from the '60s were tapping into that. And two,
yeah, I think so. Part of the thing that's been good for me is I think the big thing about that back in the '60s and stuff is people were left alone. The artists were, or I don't know if they were left alone, but they definitely had, the freedom to express and just to experiment with stuff. There's this little video going around Frank Zappa, where he's talking about, the the entrepreneurial spirit back then. Because there was, a bunch of guys, a few guys that had some money sitting around with these, cigars, that had some money and would put records out, and they said, well, I don't know if it'll sell. Just, we'll just put it out. Y'all record it. We'll put it out. We'll see what it does, And that spirit, is largely long gone, aside from, some independents, independent labels and stuff. But it's just the freedom just like the Beatles, having to be able to go into Abbey Road anytime they want to and record any damn song, experiment, and then have orchestras and all this stuff to play on it. It's like those, kind of a musical paradise, I guess you could say. But, to have that freedom to be able to, create like that. And then when you get into the fast forward 20 years to the 80s or 90s, you got all these executives, that, well, if something doesn't sell, 1 million copies, or 2 million copies, they just drop the band, sorry guys, and also we're holding on to the master tapes, and you can't have them back, So, and I think part of maybe the reason the stuff I'm doing is because I have the freedom, of being outside. I'm at my house most of the, time, and I have a place I can go record for free. So, and I'm very influenced by that, era of music. So, it feels like, it's like an organic way,
Do you feel that living out in the sticks or among nature, surrounded by water, as you said at the top of the interview, influencing that spiritual?
It has an effect,
Yeah.
Beyond what do you call it, beyond being an intentional thing, I've always been, I've always been drawn, to like, it's like anybody, just like being out in nature. It's like going to the beach, going to, the swamp to hang out, walk around. When I sit out in my yard, I got a yard full of animals, because I don't really keep what you would call a well-groomed lawn. I just let everything grow. So I don't use any kind of pesticides or roach sprays or any of that shit. And I've got it's right at an acre, and I've got all kinds of, animals. And of course, it's in the middle of a pine forest, so there's probably about 30 or 40 houses, kind of mixed. There's like houses in there, a few houses, mostly trailers and stuff, a couple of farms. But it's in the middle of a pine forest about 30 miles west of Jacksonville. So, most people that live right around me, their yards are, kind of a normal yard. But I just let my shit just like grow and grow. So all the animals kind of flock to my yard. So I'm always finding stuff in the yard. Whips, seen about a 5-foot whip snake this year. I haven't seen one before. There's corn snakes, garden snakes. I haven't seen a rattle. I found one pygmy rattler about 6 inches, not even 6, he's probably about 4 or 5 inches long, about 2 feet down the ground, about a few years back when I was digging in the middle of the winter time. But all kinds of stuff, all kinds of different lizards, skinks that are about 10 inches to a foot long. Every once in a while you'll hear an owl that, hang around there. Owls, hawks all the time, buzzards. I'm trying to think of some other like ground dwelling critters, moles all in the yard, rabbits, seen some foxes around there. Just all kind of stuff. So try to keep them outside. Once in a while, one of them I make it inside. I was going out the screen door one time a few years back, and a snake fell on my head.
Oh,
wow. A corn snake. Yeah, he got up above the door somehow, screen door, to open the door. Felt something slide down my head, down what the? That's a corn snake. That was funny. Had a frog explosion out there a few times, especially after this last hurricane. We had a pretty good frog explosion. You've got a bunch of got like 15 inches of rain or so out there. So I think actually most of northeast Florida got up like between like about 8 and 15 inches of rain. So there's a lot of frogs. And then when you get a lot of frogs, here comes the snakes and everything else to munch. But yeah, all that stuff definitely go, kind of gets into the music somewhere or another.
Is there a background story to the song "The Secret"?
Then you think about that. I explained it one time. Actually, somebody else, another dude I was doing an interview with in Oklahoma asked me that same, or actually thought he asked me if it was a religious song or like a Christian song. I was like, no, it's kind of, basically it's just, it's kind of the thing where, God is everything. That, that tree, that the squirrel sitting over there, the chair you're sitting in, the air you're breathing, you, everybody, the Mount Rushmore, it's all interconnected. Everything's interconnected. That's basically what the song is saying. Excuse me. God, the chorus says, God is everything and everything is always on your side. So, and everything else is illusion.
Right.
Sort of.
Yeah, I certainly did. Yep. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I certainly didn't interpret it as a Christian song. It seemed like a very spiritual and grounded song, and I especially like the idea that everything is on your side. I feel like there's moments in life where you just have these like synchronicities, and like in a way you see what you're talking about in that song, that God's actually on your side if you're attuned to it.
Right,
it's everywhere.
Right.
I didn't know if there was like a couple of experiences that really informed that song, or if you were just talking generally about that experience. I mean, that certainly came through to me. I was like, hell yeah, I think I know what he's talking about.
Yeah, to me, it's just I was just trying to kind of pour, all the positive, thoughts I could kind of muster into that kind of premise. Even from the music and everything. Cause I remember I come up with the guitar riff that da na 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 na, little, which has actually been one of the hardest guitar parts I've ever had to record. Just picking two notes in succession like that for that long. It's like that's why people make fun of like The Edge, or he sucks, because he's not doing blistering waves. It's like, you try to record that shit, that dude, or he used to do. I don't really care for what YouTube does anymore, but albums like the Josh Looks Free and Unforgettable Fire,
right.
To me those are great albums, but anymore not so much. But yeah, that two string picking thing's hard. But I started with that, and then the kind of chords came, and then it just kind of fell together. Same, man, most of the songs I do, I don't really sit down and write a song I've had very few songs that just took a few minutes to do. Most of them just are written over the course of, years, months or years. Actually, I have one song on this new record that I started writing it in 2000, and I think I just finished it up. So sometimes it takes longer for other ones to cook.
Wow.
You know, so, but that song in particular, I like it a lot. I mean, I can't wait to play it live someday, but it's a little bit hard to pull off as 2-piece,
Mm-hmm.
Because it kind of requires that, guitar riff, and some of the songs are a lot better. They require the whole riff, the whole package to make it kind of come off strong, So a lot of times I tour in 2-piece, which I got a 3-piece band now, but I don't know if it's going to work too well for touring. But I'm able to do some of the stuff, a little bit more effectively live. A lot of times touring, to go out of town, tour the 2-pieces, kind of have to stay within a certain framework,
Right. Yes. So speaking of touring, what's the strangest house or apartment you've stayed in while on tour? Like when crashing in a place?
Oh. That'll probably have to be in Kent, Ohio, or one of them anyway. Actually, me and Cameron stayed there in May of 2016. We played at this place called the Stone Tavern. And one of the guys there, they had like a comedy show before us, and which was really good. And one of the guys, so we stayed back at his house, went back to his house and crashed. Actually, I crashed. I sleep in the van, but I think Cameron slept in there, and it was just like, it was a bachelor pad, but it don't look like they'd ever cleaned it. There was like food all over the stove and just nuts. I mean, there was stuff everywhere. It was like your feet would stick in the shower. I mean, they were perfectly cool and everything, but it was just like the most disgusting house I think I've been in. That was kind of memorable. There's been a few of them, but most of the time we've got a pretty good, premise can set people up pretty quick. It's like, tell whether they're cool or not. Yeah.
Right.
A couple of times, I remember back when I was playing in Mofro, run into some weird things like where this chick is kind of going out around to each dude in the band and you should come back to our place or whatever, and then the dude she's with is standing kind of off to the side and she's like practically all over you, kind of, and you're kind of feeling uncomfortable, and then the dude is looking at you like he's just excited as she is. It's like you're like I don't think I want to go back and end up with a like ball gag on or anything. So, but that's happened a couple of times, and it's like then after a little while, it's like it's like the 3 or 4 of us are hey, oh, they were talking to you too, huh? Like, yeah, I had to get out of there. So, but most of the time, though, when we end up people at somebody's house, though, it's usually, usually pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've had very, very few, very few cases of it where it got weird, and so that's really the weird thing I think is that this house, it was just so disgusting. I mean, I was like, you didn't even want to like walk on the floor, especially in the bathroom. But hell, we used to go to now some places you want to do some weird stuff is at truck stops. You see some weird stuff at truck stops. But,
yeah, what's the weirdest thing you've seen at a truck stop?
Probably just to getting chatted up before you it seems like some of the truck stops are cool, but we've been to there's one in what is that, Kennewick, Washington, right around there, where it got kind of where you just get this weird vibe when you go in there, and there's always some kind of shady shit going on. You know, like, you can tell there's something shady going on, but you don't know quite what it is. But you just see people acting weird. You know, then you can get, you stand in it, you go get your shower, you know, you go you pay for your shower and you're standing around with your shower ticket. And then, you know, one of those trucker guys comes, starts chatting you up, you know, get in the shower, huh? You know, some awkward conversations. Well, one time it was, I'll tell you, actually in that same town, Kent, Ohio, on that same trip when I was up with Cameron, May of 2016. I think it was the next night we had off. And, it was either the night before or the next night we had off. And, I was looking for a hotel. So, I go into this, Econo Lodge. And I walk in there, and Cameron's out the car, in the van. I walk in there, and there was some dude just kind of pacing around in the lobby, just acting kind of weird. And then there's 3 chicks back behind the counter, or 2 of them, and this one girl comes walking out. She's got like sores all over her neck and stuff. And the chick at the register, I was asking them about a room, and it just took it forever for her to compute this. And so I kind of figured, I think they were doing meth or something in there. It was just weird, but she ended up asking me for, well, let me see your card, you know, your debit card or whatever. At that point, I was just like, and she just like had this money drawer open, and we just see her counting money and over, and she kept like screwing up and having to start over again. So I was just like, I left it out in the ride. Let me go out there and get it. And so we just left there and I went across the street to another motel. It was like, I don't know what it was. It was just like the only thing I could figure is they had some kind of meth situation going up in there. You know, right. But I didn't feel comfortable giving them any, you know, any debit cards or anything. I damn sure wasn't on staying there. It was just weird. And the funny thing was, we went across the street to the Super 8, and then I asked a girl in there about it, and she's like, "Yeah, there's always I was like, "What's up with that Econo Lodge over there?" And she says, "I don't know, but the cops are always going over there for something." So okay, it's like we just had a weird experience in there. So, but those kind of stick out. So
that's great. Do you have any essential items that you carry on tour with you?
Any what?
Essential items, like, you know, obviously you have your instruments, but like, say, like Cliff Bars or I don't know, anything that is just critical to being comfortable while on tour.
Not really. I bring like a coffee maker, one of them Keurig things.
Oh, you do? Wow.
Yeah, just kind of plug in and being highly addicted to coffee. But just usually do that kind of with the Starbucks, you know, because at the end of the tour or the guerrilla kind of touring we do, I'm sure you're familiar with it, that sleeping in the van and stuff, trying to save money when you're not blowing up. Trying to at the end of the tour, like the Starbucks bill can add up to like, well, damn, over that 3 weeks we spent like $150 at Starbucks. So we'd just be better off just getting that, and well, there's $50 more for each person there, you know. So just little tricks like that, trying to save, you know, stay out of motels whenever possible if you want to bring back money. You know. Of course, when we were touring in Mofo years ago in the early days, that's what we did. Of course, we had an RV because there was 5 of us, you know, 5 or 6. So, but we'd never stay in motels. It was always, you know, campgrounds and rest areas, truck stops, you know, you start tagging up the motel bills, you know, after a while it adds up quick. You know, I'd much rather sleep in the van than eat good food. You know, stay in motels, you know. We're going through, when we haven't hit the drive-through, you know, so that's another thing too, I take a cooler and hit the grocery stores. You know, Trader Joe's is great. Trader Joe's is great, you know, stores like that. So, but, you just try to keep it, you know, a few items of clothes and, you know, keep it traveling light. I do carry a couple of sticks in the back, you know, like, in case, we run into anybody that we need to whack or we need to protect ourselves or something. Yeah. I'd carry around a gun, but, yeah, I don't thought messing with all that, you know.
Right.
Might get a stun gun or something.
Taser.
Yeah. That's what I meant, like stun or taser, you know, something like that. But, you know, don't really run into too many problems. Just kind of stay moving and stay out of places that are usually one thing I learned is like when you get down at the club at the end of the night, unless it's a great area, get out of there, get out of the town and get to a rest area or a campground or something down the road in the sticks. You know, a lot less likely to get messed with.
Have you ever forgotten an instrument while on tour?
Not an instrument. I've left a couple little things behind, like guitar stand, stuff like that. Usually pretty thorough with the dummy check.
Right.
Alrighty.
Well, yeah.
Well,
I know. What's that?
I was just gonna say, if you just leave something behind or something, kind of, you know, it's no big deal if you lose it.
Well, I have a couple more questions. I know we've been talking for about an hour, so I want to be respectful of your time. So, couple closing questions. And so the first one is, if you had to describe your music as a color, what would it be?
As a color?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Or I mean, maybe it's not a color. Maybe you fill that in if there's something easier.
I always say funky bluesy, swampy, psychedelic rock and roll music. You know, from Northeast Florida, but I don't know if I would call it maybe purple or blue.
That's cool.
Colors, something like that, purple or blue. I kind of like both of those colors.
And so if you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it say?
To promote the band or something, or is that what you mean, or just a billboard?
I mean, either to promote the band or if there's just a message that you want to put out into the world.
Oh, I would have a billboard made out of clear plexiglass, you know, so you could see right through it. So you didn't have to look at it.
That's great. All right. And so you've mentioned a number of times the albums you're working on. Is there, or albums? It sounds like there might be two. Is there? Is there a date for that? Is there sort of a vague notion of when that might be coming out, or anything more you want to say about that to put in the article?
I don't know. I don't know. I was hoping it was going to be out by now, but I started recording it in September of 16, October 16. So I've been working on it coming up on a year and a half. So, what's now? I want to guess maybe in the fall. You know, maybe in the summer, maybe in the fall. I would say probably falls like, September, maybe August, September. Hopefully sooner, but, I don't want to get too far ahead.
Right.
Just
Right.
one thing, one quick point is is when I started touring on my own, I was just like, I want to book as many shows as I can and, fuck it, just play over. And I've done that for like 6 or 7 years. In fact, the last full tour I did of the West Coast was like 28 shows in 32 days, 10,000 miles. And,
Wow.
and that like to have broke me and Cameron too. So it's like, my strategy, I was like, I need to go home and like rethink this, and cause there's a lot of things I could do on the touring end to make it an easier trip, strategically and just logistically and everything. So I kind of came back home with the idea, let me come up with a new game plan and, hit everything with basically just reinvent the whole process, my whole process all the way from, play everything. So kind of, pretty much doing that. That entails a lot.
Does that mean there's some upcoming tour dates?
I've got some shows around Florida in next month. I've kind of been doing the one weekend a month, maybe a couple weekends a month, playing regionally.
Right.
Just to stay kind of, so you're always growing and playing. But as far as getting back out on the road, hopefully, towards summertime, I'll be getting some more trips together. I just actually in December, I went out to did Memphis and, Mississippi to Alabama. So, probably going to be thinking about going out to Texas and, back up to the Northeast pretty soon this year.
Oh, you'll have to let me know when you're in New York.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely want to get there before it gets cold. Yeah, not that all out of cold. It's really pretty up there. Like had some really good shows in New England, so Massachusetts and New Hampshire and Vermont and all up there. So and Rhode Island. So I want to get there when this still looks pretty.
Well, good deal. Daryl, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. I'm going to, so I've recorded this. I'm going to parse through it and find the gems and write it. I'll send you a draft before publishing it. So, just be on the lookout for that. But otherwise, is there anything else you think we didn't cover that you'd like to have included?
Not right offhand. I can't think of anything, but if you have any other questions, just shoot me an email. I'm glad to answer anything. I can articulate it a little bit better too with if you can pull another question out of any of that stuff or whatever that you want, a little bit more of a refined answer, or you think a refined answer might be cool, just shoot me a question or email where I'll be glad to sit down with it and answer it, in a more articulate way.
Great. Well, thank you. I'll see what presents itself. I think there's some really good material here. I'm especially excited about the truck stops. I think that'll make for an entertaining read.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. If anything else pops in my head too, then I'll elaborate on it too. So.
Great. Well, it's been a pleasure, Daryl. I'm really excited about putting this together, and I'll be in touch once I have a first draft.
Okay, cool, man. It was great talking to you too, man.
Yeah. All righty. I'll be in touch.
Okay, man.
Okay. Have a good night.
Okay, you too, man.
Bye.
Bye.